So some of my clients at Black Sheep said, Jeff, you need an audio podcast, but you know Jeff Black loves to be on camera, so I created a TV show called Business Casual, where we talk to business leaders around the world on a variety of leadership topics. Make sure you watch Business Casual with Jeff Black. Welcome to this edition of Business Casual with Jeff Black. Obviously, I'm Jeff Black. I got a great guest with me today for our show. He's Sanjay Patel. He's the Senior Vice President and Global Head of Takeda Business Solutions. They're a part of the Takeda Pharmaceuticals family. Sanjay, we are so glad that you are with us today. Thanks for being here on Business Casual.
It's a pleasure, Jeff.
You had no idea what you were getting into, did you, Sanjay?
Absolutely not. But I know it's going to be a fun ride.
It's going to be a fun ride, sir. Well, listen, let me start in our first category under Full of BS, which stands for best self, of course. We want to help people be their best selves. So my first question is this. Sanjay, if you had to narrow down, what would be the most valuable thing you learned in your career? That one piece of advice somebody gave you, what was the most valuable piece of advice? And then also, what was the least valuable piece of advice?
Okay, it will be lead by example. And by that, I mean, demonstrate the behavior that you want everyone else to follow. That would be my best career advice. The one that's least favorite of mine is resting on your laurels. To me, success of the past does not dictate or define what you will be in the future. So always shoot for doing your best and creating new opportunities as you progress in your career.
Love it. Love it. Now let's talk about executive presence, because those still remain the big buzzwords of a successful career today. You know, that person has executive presence. So fill in the blank, Sanjay. Executive presence means?
To me, it means gravitas, humility, and confidence. And the ability to display that when you're in front of an audience.
And when you think of gravitas, what describe that for in your terms?
Well, to me, it's like when you're engaging with an audience, being able to get them engrossed in what you're talking and believing in what you are articulating or sharing with them. So being clear and also linking the purpose of what you are sharing with them as part of the session.
Well, you certainly have a lot of gravitas. I've seen you before in action at Takeda. So let's put let's turn the tables a little bit on Sanjay, shall we? So Sanjay, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest, time to check out his confidence level right here. Let's see what he says. Your executive presence, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate yourself? And please, don't be modest on all of our accounts.
Yeah, Jeff, that's a loaded question. So, but anyway, I'll give it a go. I would say I'm probably close to a 7.
A 7?
There's always room for improvement. There's always room for improvement.
Now, you know, I really thought I'd get a little higher than a 7, and that was a little iffy there. Sanjay, go ahead and knock yourself out. I'd go at least 7.5, 7 3/4. You're there. Go ahead.
You're the judge. You've seen me, so I'll let you judge.
Well, perhaps a little bit more coaching from Jeff Black, and we could move him up to a 10. That's what I'm thinking. Not that this would be a shameless self-promotion on my part in any way.
Well, Jeff, if I rated myself an 8 or a 9, then I wouldn't need your services anymore.
Exactly.
So I have to make sure, right? There's always a second chance.
Sanjay, I'm thinking 7 at tops. Okay, let's stay with 7 at tops. There you go. Exactly. You got room for improvement. As my late grandmama used to say, you got potential, Sanjay. You got potential. We're going to make something of you yet. All right. Are there certain business leaders that you choose to follow, people that you really think are on the cutting edge of either leadership, on their communication skills, or that executive presence?
Yeah, I don't follow any one particular business leader, but there is one gentleman that I'm a big fan of, and his name is Lee Cockrell. He's a former executive of Disney, and he wrote a book called Creating Magic, and I really resonate with that because his leadership principles are simple and common sense leadership kind of activities. So it's things like, treat your people with respect. It's, create your people as your brand. So I like the way that he can articulate the leadership lessons that he's learned. And there's no technical concept, it's just simple lessons.
Absolutely. Well, as we move to our open mic segment, I want to get Sanjay's perspective and some advice for young professionals who are watching Business Casual. So, Sanjay, if we think about this, what would be those 2 or 3 key points you would tell a young professional today as they're starting out their careers?
Be confident, don't doubt yourself, and go for it.
And go for it. And do you think sometimes at all ages and levels we struggle with the confidence factor? Why do you think that is? You know, sometimes people are very quiet in meetings. Sanjay, they're not willing to step out on a limb. They play the safe, right? Play the safe role.
Well, I believe that at times people are setting their own parameters within which they feel comfortable. And to me, it's always pushing that boundary further out and increase your comfort zone, right? And the longer the comfort zone stays closer to you, the harder it's going to become for you to kind of be that confident individual. And I believe everyone has it in them to go that extra mile and push that boundary further and further. And that'll kind of make them a better individual and really help them with a career.
And if you were thinking about someone going in for a job interview, let's say I'm coming in to interview with you for a job at your company, what are some of those key characteristics, Sanjay, you really look for in what you view as a successful interview?
The first thing I look for is the chemistry between the person you're interviewing and your organization. Two, have they done their homework? Have they researched on the company, and have they understood the role that they're applying for? And to me, if I always ask them, okay, you've done the interview, you've got the job. What's your plan, right? And if they have come prepared and they're really serious about the role, then they will give you a very quick 30, 60, 90-day plan on what they think they will be able to kind of start doing if they were successful in the role. So I'd see those few things as what I kind of focus on when I interview people.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the modules we do at our learning company, Black Sheep, is we really help leaders go in for those promotion interviews, et cetera. And we don't talk about the past. I mean, you're there in that chair because of your past success. You really need to say, what are you going to do for us going forward, right? What's the next even year look like? What's your strategic vision? Don't focus just on your past successes and where the company is today, but really what can you do going forward? So it sounds like that you subscribe to that same thought.
Absolutely do.
Sanjay, we have so much corporate speak out there. I'm amazed sometimes that you can even look at websites if you didn't identify the company by name. If you just read their corporate speak stuff, you would have no idea what they even did. I think this is a fun exercise, actually, to get people to guess. But what do you really work to make sure that you stay authentic to you and to your company? Because it really is, it's easy to get caught up in the corporate jargon and in the beautiful marketing materials that companies produce today.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things that I do. One, really relate to the purpose for which the company exists. So Indicator, our purpose is to create an environment where there's better health for the people and a brighter future for our environment. And if, as an organization, we make sure that our people in our organization understand how their work relates to the greater purpose of the company. So that's one that's really important. If you have that clarity, then it's fun. And the other thing is, again, as Lee Cockrell kind of mentions, it's not the magic that makes it work, it's the way we work that makes it magic. And to me, it's all around how do we create an environment where our employees really thrive and get excited to kind of come to work every day because they know that they're adding value and they're doing something that's meaningful and that's purposeful.
Sanjay, we've all faced the difficulties and challenges of this pandemic. Most of us still working at home, going to be that way for the foreseeable future. I get from some people they really like it, but I'm also getting from some of our clients that they're ready to get back in the office because they are struggling to separate home from work. And quite frankly, some of them told me they're working more hours now at home than they ever did when they went to the office. What's your business casual take on that?
Look, I would probably relate to the latter statement or comment. I think it's hard to separate work from your personal life if you're working from home all the time. And I'm probably not a good example of that. I'm probably working more hours at home because I'm saving the time for commute to work, and that goes into my work day. But I do miss the networking with my team and meeting them face to face, because I believe when you are face to face, the creativity, the innovation, the brainstorming, takes a different flavor, which you don't get to experience when you're doing it virtually. So I think there's a balance that we have to strike between working remotely, but being strictly adhering to a regimen that allows you to have your personal life and your work life separated, which I'm not a good example of, but aspire to. And on the other front is like going to work also to ensure that you bring that innovation that you need to bring. But end of the day, employee safety always takes precedence over anything we will decide in this new COVID world.
Sanjay, for someone delivering a lot of their meetings, hosting their team meetings or whatever virtually, what's those one or two tips you would tell them to make their virtual meetings and presentations stronger? Because if not, they just get lost. They just get lost.
I think the first thing is we need to make sure the audience is engaged. And the only way you can know that they're engaged is if the video is on.
Yes.
Right? So that's one. The second tip I would give is try and keep it less on slides, but more on a dialogue. Because when you have slides and slides kind of overtake the session, then you will lose kind of interest very quickly. If there are slides, keep it to no more than 3 points per slide. So it's to the point, and you encourage more of a conversation and a dialogue and a discussion versus just a slideshow.
Wow. Sanjay, it feels like you've been to a Black Sheep program on virtual executive presence. Just saying. Okay, there you go.
I think I have.
I think you have. And that's where we met, and that's where our friendship began.
And I learned as well. So, you can't teach an old horse some tricks. So
there you go. Well, you got a lot left in you, no doubt. It's time to ask Sanjay about his thoughts around professional appearance and wardrobe and the importance of all that as it goes to make those first impressions. Some may call this Fashion Week or Fashion Week, WEAK, because there's some issues that folks have. But what's your take? What's your advice? We live in this business casual world today, but it really has taken all kinds of forms, right? I mean, what's casual and appropriate for some, not for other companies and culture. So what's your thoughts around the whole thing on business casual?
To me, it's all like, dress smart, dress for the occasion, and first understand the audience to whom you'll be engaging with or you'll be engaging with, and dress appropriately. If you're meeting like government officials or then dress in a suit and a tie. If you're in the office environment meeting suppliers, again, it depends on the culture, depends on the country, depends on the region. I dress like business casual every day. Friday is a bit of a casual kind of a day where you just make sure that if you have to kind of meet someone, that you won't be ashamed of the way you are dressed, right? When you're in the work environment.
Now, have you done any of your virtual meetings in your pajamas? It's now time for him to tell all. Have you?
No.
I get you on that one.
But I might have worn shorts with a jacket and a blazer on the top.
Okay, well,
like the news reporters.
Yes, well, Jeff Black's been known to have on that, business at the front, swimsuit at the bottom, ready to go to the beach when we finish all this hard work. We continue now with Business Casual as we talk with Rachna Patel, the wife of Sanjay Patel of Takeda Business Solutions, and something tells me Rachna is going to spill it and tell us all. I can't wait to ask her. So, Rachna, how many years have you been married to Sanjay Patel?
26 years.
Oh, my goodness. 26 long years. As we would say in the southern part of the United States where I live, bless your heart. Rachna, bless your heart.
Thank you. Yeah, 26 years.
26 years. Now, we want to find out a little bit about Sanjay as a leader, a little bit about his personal life, because then that helps us understand his professional life. Mm-hmm. So if you had to think about that, he's an accomplished business leader. Why do you think that is? What do you think makes Sanjay stand out in his leadership skills, Rachna?
His dedication. He loves what he does and does what he loves, in a nutshell. And that makes him, whatever he's doing today, that's what it is. Yeah.
All right. Now, I understand that every morning you remind him of who is always right in the household. So do tell us about that. What tools of engagement?
The mug you're talking about? Is that the mug you're talking about?
Yes. I hear the best part of waking up is a coffee mug that has a message on it.
Yes, so that was a 25th wedding anniversary gift, one of them, which says Mr. Right and Mrs. Always Right. So I'm not sure if he was trying to convince himself or assuring me that I'm always right.
Right. And so that's how the morning starts. But throughout the day and evening, Rachna, do you have to ever have another cup of tea or coffee just as a reminder to him?
No.
He gets it in the morning.
Yeah. Once is enough.
I love it. I love it. All right. Now, Sanjay is one to give a lot of career advice to people, right? He does this. He's an encourager, a nurturer. I think it's time to flip the tables a little bit on Sanjay. So, Rachna, if you were going to give Sanjay some career advice, what would that be?
Slow down. He is just like an Energizer bunny, just keeps going and going, and not everyone can keep up with that. I can't keep up. When I'm walking with him, I can't keep up with his pace. So I can only imagine what everybody else feels like. I mean, that's my advice. Yeah, slow down a little bit.
Sanjay is exhausting. I mean, it's exhausting having to keep up with him. And we're hearing it. We're hearing it from the wife who knows everything. I love it.
Too much, yeah.
Slow down. All right. What would you tell me are some of Sanjay's best qualities? Best qualities.
He's hardworking. He's very dedicated, very loyal, and he sets a very high bar for himself. And he just feels that he needs to push himself that much more than he actually is doing, which I don't know, works for him. But sometimes he just feels that he needs to do better.
And tell me this. All right, so those are his best qualities, and that's going to start to get good, people. What are some of his least favorite qualities that he has?
He's a workaholic. Yeah. And again, I have to say he needs to slow down.
Needs to slow down.
I always tell him, I said, you married, your first wife is work. I'm your second wife.
Oh, everybody make sure you got that. First wife is work. Second wife is who he married. Now we're really getting good. I'm like Dr. Jeff here. Please go ahead. Pour out your heart to me now, Rachna.
No, that's it. That's really it.
I wanted a little bit more. That was good. Yeah.
No. Before he goes to bed, he has to check his emails. It's like he feels like if he hasn't responded to all his emails, he's missing out on something. Like, so I'm like, okay, put the phone down. I said, I'm here. Hello, I'm here.
Oh my! I am never going to let you meet my wife because the two of you have a lot in common.
Oh, good. Okay, we need to chat then.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. All right. Tell us about your family, Rachna. You have how many daughters?
We have 2 girls, and the younger one just turned 21 today.
Happy birthday to her. Yay.
Yeah, so 2 beautiful girls.
All right. Now, what's it been like? Can you think about a time when Sanjay was really struggling with maybe one of the children? They weren't cooperating the way he thought they should. In other words, I'm digging for something good now.
I have to think this one. We can come back to that question.
Okay, later. All right, we'll come back to that one. That's good. Gosh, Rachna's just like a politician. We'll come back to that. And then she's now going to talk about something totally different, and she'll never come back to that. That's what I love about this interview. That's perfect. All right, so Rachna, what's it been like, with the pandemic? A lot of leaders are working from their homes now, not able to go in the offices. We all hope that, changes and soon. But what's it been like having Sanjay home for a good bit of this time?
Good question. Well, in the 26 years we've been married, he's been traveling about 60-70% of his time. And when this lockdown happened, I said, oh my God, I'm going to be stuck with him for about 2 or 3 months. And we've never been because he always travels, comes back for a few weeks, and off he goes again. And I'm like, this is going to be long, but it's actually been pretty good. But I do have to remind him that you don't forget that you're in my territory. Yeah.
So-
Home is my territory.
Wow. This is getting really good. And I am really making sure you never talk to Stephanie Black after all of this, because she would say the exact same thing. She's used to me being on the road 90% of the time. And now Stephanie and even our dog looks at me like, when are you leaving?
Exactly.
Please,
Exactly.
please.
I remember one time my younger one, she was, I think she was about 9 or 10, and Sanjay was home for about 8 weeks at that time. And I said, oh, Daddy's going to be home for a good 2 months this time. She looks at me really seriously. She goes, what are we going to do with him?
What are we going to do with him?
And I'm like, I looked at her and I'm like, good question.
Well, it was a very good question. And on that, I can't think of anything else we would want to ask you, because you have been great. Thank you so much for joining us for this session, because we love getting to hear the behind the scenes of our business leaders here on Business Casual. So, Sanjay, being involved in charitable organizations, giving back to one's community through corporate charitable events, how important is having that philanthropic sense of service today? How important is that for leaders?
I think it's really important. It's a core component of any organization's corporate social responsibility. And I believe, like in some regions, the shareholders are, or the investors are looking at what are you doing for the environment, what are you doing for sustainability, and what are you doing from a corporate social responsibility perspective. So it's not just about generating revenue, but also doing good for the society. So I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big believer of it, and I always encourage people to take part in that.
Sanjay, is there a particular charity that is especially meaningful to you, that matters to you?
Yeah, the one that I can relate to is, and this is going back to when I lived in the US, we used to kind of partner and sponsor activities with Habitat for Humanity. And it was a really, I'd say, humbling experience when you go as a team and kind of help some families or communities kind of build their houses or do renovation, because these are the people that cannot either afford to or aren't physically able to do some of these things. So I believe that's a good kind of charity that I really resonate with.
They do great things, and whether you're giving of your labor on a home site, whether you're giving financially, you truly know you're making a difference. And so, Sanjay, I'd like to make a donation to Habitat for Humanity in your honor for joining us. And we certainly encourage our viewers to consider Habitat for Humanity as one of those charitable causes that is important, and perhaps it will be important to you as well. So
thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate that kind gesture. Absolutely.
Well, I live in South Carolina. A lot of Habitat originated in the next state over, Georgia, and great leadership there. So, Sanjay, as we wind down yet another exciting episode of Business Casual, do you have any final thoughts for our viewers? What's the one thing that Jeff Black didn't think to ask you, or that you even want to ask Jeff Black? I'm going to turn the tables. Sanjay, this is so incredibly dangerous since that's not a part of the script, everyone, but go ahead.
Yeah, look, one parting thought I would give is change to me is a constant these days, and we've just come out of this whole COVID experience where, as leaders, we have been challenged to think differently and also embrace change in a way that we may not have anticipated. So for those aspiring leaders out there, I would encourage them to really kind of take change as a positive, not as a negative, and always look for the opportunities that this change kind of brings to you, as opposed to all the negatives. And I'm a fairly kind of optimist kind of guy, and I always look for opportunities in negative situations, and keeps me all up with energy and getting up out of bed and going to work every day to make a difference.
How a good show ends is how it ought to be, how it started. And I believe when we started, you were a 7 on the executive presence scale. You got 3 points to go, but stick with me, Sanjay, because
Hello.
we will get there. We have enjoyed having you with us today. And to all of you who have watched us here on Business Casual, thanks so much for joining us. We've enjoyed talking to Sanjay Patel with Takeda Business Solutions. We'll be back soon with another exciting episode of Business Casual. Have a great day, everyone. Oh, yeah. Oh, perfect. Now we want to get, so here are the mugs, Mr. Right and Mrs. Always Right. And Sanjay, this is just your world, is it not?
Yes, it is.
This is your world. All right. Hey, thank y'all so much for being a part of Business Casual. We've enjoyed having you.